There's something about old horror films, the grain of the film, the silence between screams, the shadows that feel alive. In the 1960s, filmmakers tapped into fears we didn't yet have words for, fears that would linger, mutate, and come crawling back decades later. They didn't just frighten audiences, they foresaw us. These weren't monsters hiding under the bed. They were deeper. Loneliness, infection, mass hysteria, the quiet dread of losing your own face or your own mind. The terrors of the 1960s were strangely familiar, as if they peered through time and saw our world today. Today, those fears have returned. The viruses, the surveillance, the mobs with torches, only now they're online. We thought these movies were just fiction. We were wrong. This is Vintiverse, and today we're descending into 10 insanely underrated 60s horror movies whose shadows have finally caught up with us. Movies so strange they even impose fears on the audiences decades later. Number 10, Matango. It begins with silence, a shipwreck, a handful of survivors stumbling onto an uncharted island cloaked in mist and rot. At first glance, the island seems deserted, but it isn't empty. It's alive. Everywhere you look, mushrooms. They cling to trees, crawl across walls, ooze from cracks in the ground, and they're hungry. Matango, also known as Attack of the Mushroom People, tells the story of castaways so desperate that they begin to eat the strange fungi blanketing the island. But the mushrooms aren't food, they're a curse. The moment they eat, something inside them changes. Their minds fracture, their bodies twist, until there's nothing left but mushrooms. In 1963, audiences were horrified by its surreal imagery. Today, Matango feels like a warning we ignored. Scientists now study mind-controlling fungi like Ophiocordyceps, parasites that infect insects, rewire their behavior, and turn them into walking husks. But Matango's horror isn't just biological, it's psychological. It's the terror of hunger, of watching the people you love transform into something alien and knowing you might be next. In a world haunted by pandemics, food insecurity, and the slow creep of climate-driven disease, this forgotten Japanese nightmare feels disturbingly inevitable.
Number 9. Horror Hotel, City of the Dead. Picture this, a fog-choked New England town, cut off from the rest of the world, its streets empty, but somehow watching you. A young woman arrives, following whispers of witchcraft and rumors of strange rituals. She checks into an old inn, run by a smiling keeper whose eyes never seem to blink. And as the mist rolls in, she vanishes without a trace. This is Horror Hotel, also known as City of the Dead. On the surface, it's a simple story of college students investigating a legend, but underneath, it's about entire towns complicit in evil, about cults hiding in plain sight. The locals aren't scared of the witches, they are the witches. In 1960, this was shocking enough, but today, it's terrifyingly familiar. We live in an era obsessed with hidden societies and secret cabals. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire online. True crime documentaries peel back the facade of idyllic communities to reveal unthinkable horrors beneath. The fear isn't just of monsters anymore. It's of neighbors, smiling strangers, the quiet towns we thought we knew. Number 8. Eyes without a face. Some horrors don't scream. They whisper. They glide toward you, beautiful and silent, wearing a mask that's almost human. Eyes Without a Face is that kind of horror. Elegant, restrained, and utterly nightmarish. The film follows a brilliant but unhinged surgeon who kidnaps young women to steal their faces, desperate to repair his disfigured daughter. His obsession drives him to madness, performing grotesque experiments in sterile white rooms that feel colder than any dungeon. Watching it now, the terror cuts even deeper because we've caught up to it. We now live in a world obsessed with faces and perfection. Plastic surgery is routine. AI deepfakes can steal your likeness and speak in your voice. Our faces unlock our phones, track us at airports, and sell products tailored to our emotions. The fear of losing or having stolen our very identity has never felt more real. And there's something even more chilling. Eyes Without a Face forces you to confront the monster behind the mask. Not the victim, but the parent who loves too much. The surgeon isn't evil in his own mind. He's desperate, convinced he's saving his child. That twisted morality resonates today in debates about bioethics, cloning, and human enhancement. At what point does our pursuit of perfection cross into horror? As the film drifts toward its haunting finale, a figure in a mask wandering into the dark woods, doves fluttering around her like lost souls, you realize some nightmares don't end with screams. They end in silence.
Number 7. Quaidon, 1964. There's a silence in Quaidon that feels alive. A stillness so complete it gnaws at your nerves. You can hear the snowfall. You can hear your own heartbeat. And in that silence, something ancient is watching. Quaidon isn't one story, it's 4. 4 ghostly tales pulled from Japanese folklore, each dripping in quiet terror. Samurai warriors haunted by spirits of the wronged. Snow women who kill with a kiss. Blind musicians playing for an audience of the dead. Every frame is like a painting, but it's a painting that stares back at you. In 1964, Quaidon terrified audiences with its unnatural beauty. Its colors were too vivid, its sets too dreamlike. It felt less like a movie and more like a lucid nightmare. And today, its fears feel hauntingly familiar. Folk horror is back. Films like The Witch, Midsommar, and Hereditary draw on the same primal terror, the weight of tradition, the fear of breaking taboos, the unseen things that watch from the woods. But there's something more unsettling here. Quaidon taps into a fear we rarely name, the inheritance of trauma. Its stories whisper that the sins of the past never die. They linger, waiting for us in the dark. And in a world grappling with generational wounds, from war to climate disaster, that fear feels more relevant than ever. Number 6. Oni Baba, 1964. The wind never stops in Oni Baba. It howls through endless reeds, carrying whispers of hunger, madness, and death. In this desolate swamp, 2 women survive by killing samurai who wander too close, dragging them into the reeds, stripping their armor, and tossing their bodies into a black pit. They don't kill for hate. They kill to eat. Oni Baba is primal horror. There are no ghosts here, no vampires, just humans pushed beyond morality by starvation and war. And that's what makes it so terrifying, how easily survival strips away humanity. In 1964, this was shocking. Today, it feels prophetic. We live in an age obsessed with apocalypse, climate collapse, nuclear threat, food scarcity. We ask ourselves, what would I do to survive? How far would I go? Oni Baba answers, as far as you need to, and further. The film's most haunting image is the mask, a demonic samurai mask worn to terrify, then cursed to fuse with human flesh. It's a metaphor for what war and desperation do to us. We wear the mask of survival so long, we can't take it off.
Number 5. The Haunting, 1963. There's something wrong with Hill House. It's not the creaking floors or the endless hallways or the shadows that stretch too long. It's the house itself, alive, hungry, and whispering to anyone who dares step inside. The Haunting begins as a paranormal investigation, scientists and psychics studying one of the most haunted houses in England. But what unfolds isn't just a ghost story, it's a psychological assault. The house doesn't attack with claws or teeth, it gets inside your head. It knows your secrets. It whispers in your own voice. In 1963, this was revolutionary. Horror audiences were used to monsters and gore. The Haunting terrified them with suggestion and silence. A door that bends inward without a sound. A hand held in the dark that isn't a hand at all. And today, its terror feels eerily modern. We live in an age of psychological horror, where mental health, trauma, and gaslighting are as frightening as any demon. Our fears aren't always visible. They're internal, creeping through anxiety, paranoia, and sleepless nights. The house in The Haunting is the perfect metaphor for modern dread, a structure we live in every day. Social media, news cycles, algorithmic feeds, that slowly erodes our sanity. By the end, you're left wondering, was Hill House ever haunted, or were its ghosts just reflections of us? And if so, what does that say about the world we've built? A world where fear spreads silently, invisibly, faster than any monster ever could. Number 4. Black Sunday, 1960. It begins with a face, a beautiful woman tied to a stake, accused of witchcraft. A mask of iron hammered onto her skull with brutal finality. Blood pools beneath her eyes. The curse is spoken. She will return. This is Mario Bava's Black Sunday, a gothic nightmare drenched in fog, shadows, and death. The witch Asavasta is executed in the 1600s, only to rise centuries later, vowing revenge on the descendants of those who condemned her. Her weapon? Not fire or thunder, but corruption, seducing the innocent, turning family against family, feeding on fear and hysteria. In 1960, Black Sunday shocked audiences with its stark violence and unrelenting atmosphere. In 2025, it feels disturbingly prophetic. The witch hunts of old have become digital witch hunts, mobs forming online, outrage spreading like wildfire, reputations destroyed in hours. Fear is contagious, and outrage is currency. Even As's resurrection feels modern, a warning about ancient evils revived in new forms. Extremism, conspiracy theories, cult mentalities, horrors we thought buried now crawl back, reshaped by technology. And just as in Black Sunday, the mob rarely asked if they're right, only if they're loud enough. By its chilling climax, as As's corpse-like face looms out of the shadows, you realize the true terror isn't the witch herself. It's the cycle, the curse. The fact that humanity, in every age, finds new ways to burn the same scapegoats.
Number 3. The Last Man on Earth, 1964. The streets are silent. Cars abandoned mid-turn. Houses left with doors ajar. Dinners rotting on tables. The only sound is wind and the shuffle of something not quite human. This is the world of The Last Man on Earth. Vincent Price plays Dr. Robert Morgan, the last survivor of a plague that's wiped out humanity and left behind only pale, vampire-like husks. By day, he hunts them. By night, they surround his home, moaning his name, battering his doors with rotting hands. Alone, day after day, year after year, Morgan drifts toward madness, clinging to routine because it's the only thing separating him from the monsters outside, and the monster he feels himself becoming. When this film debuted in 1964, it was chilling. Today, it's unbearable, because we've lived it. Pandemic lockdowns, empty streets, the gnawing paranoia of every cough, every knock on the door. The movie's viral apocalypse feels less like fiction and more like déjà vu. But The Last Man on Earth predicted more than quarantine. It foresaw the collapse of trust. Morgan's loneliness echoes today's world of fractured communities, where misinformation spreads faster than any virus, and people retreat into digital bunkers of isolation. Its monsters, neither fully dead nor alive, feel eerily close to our modern metaphors. The Walking Dead of social media outrage, the soulless scroll of algorithm-fed news cycles, and the loss of genuine human connection. And the ending still hurts. Morgan discovers he's not the hero, he's the nightmare. The new society sees him as their monster. In an age where morality shifts daily, where yesterday's savior is today's villain, The Last Man on Earth predicted our most uncomfortable truth. In someone else's story, we might be the horror. Number 2. The Innocence, 1961. A sprawling mansion in the English countryside, children laughing in distant hallways, sunlight spilling through lace curtains. But the air is wrong, too still, too heavy. Something unseen is watching. The Innocence begins innocently enough. A governess arrives to care for 2 orphan children. But as the days pass, she grows convinced that the children are possessed, manipulated by the ghosts of their former caretakers. Shadows flit at the edge of her vision. Whispers echo through locked rooms. And the children, always smiling, always watching, seem to know more than they should. This isn't a film of jump scares. It's a slow unraveling of the house, of the children, of the governess herself. The horror lies in doubt. Are the ghosts real? Or is she losing her mind? By the end, you don't know. And that's what makes it linger. In 1961, this psychological ambiguity was groundbreaking. Who can you trust? Your government? Your media? Your own eyes? The creeping paranoia of The Innocence mirrors our own. We don't know what's real anymore, and that uncertainty is its own kind of terror. The film also foreshadows modern trauma horror, stories like Hereditary or The Babadook, that blur the line between supernatural and psychological. The governess's repressed desires, her obsession with purity, her unraveling sanity, they mirror today's anxieties about mental illness and suppressed trauma. And the children, those eerily angelic faces, speak to a fear that never fades. Innocence corrupted. In an age where we fear what algorithms feed our kids, where predators hide behind screens, The Innocence feels more prophetic than ever. Its final moments, quiet, shocking, ambiguous, leave you with one suffocating thought. Sometimes the scariest ghosts are the ones we bring with us. Number 1. Carnival of Souls, 1962. A lonely stretch of highway. A car plunges into the river. 3 young women drown, or so it seems. Hours later, one of them climbs from the wreckage, soaked and shivering, with no memory of how she survived. That's how Carnival of Souls begins. And from there, reality starts to rot. Mary Henry tries to rebuild her life, but something is wrong. People don't look at her the same way. Sometimes they don't see her at all. And everywhere she goes, a pale man follows, silent, grinning, watching from doorways and mirrors. He doesn't chase her. He doesn't speak. He just waits. In 1962, Carnival of Souls was dismissed as cheap and strange. Today, it feels terrifyingly modern and eerily prophetic. Its liminal spaces, empty highways, abandoned fairgrounds, echoing churches mirror the surreal landscapes of modern isolation. Ghost malls, dead suburbs, digital purgatories where we drift online, half present, half gone. But here's where the prophecy cuts deep. Carnival of Souls predicted the hollow feeling of disconnection that defines our era. The numb scrolling through social media. The sense that we're ghosts in our own lives, watching instead of living. Mary's drifting alienation mirrors a world where AI voices speak to us, algorithms predict us, and yet, no one truly sees us. By the end, that shocking twist, that revelation of where Mary's been all along, you realize Carnival of Souls isn't just a ghost story, it's the ghost story. About us, about modern life, about the fear that maybe we're not really living, just moving shadows in someone else's dream. Some will hate this choice for number one. Others will call it perfect. But either way, Carnival of Souls earns its place because it saw us long before we saw ourselves. Let us know your takes in the comment section. Which of these horror movies have you seen? What was your reaction when you first watched it? What do you feel now? This is because each of these movies brings its own unique fear, story, and silence. Even 60 decades later, their visions feel less like fiction and more like prophecy. The ghosts they conjured walk among us. The monsters they imagined are us. And the fears they predicted, we're living them. This is Vintiverse, where the past isn't dead, it's waiting. If you want more journeys into the strange and the forgotten, subscribe and tell us which of these nightmares haunts you the most.